When the world's most dangerous motorcycle gang meets impossible speed, legends are born. This story will change how you think about fear, respect, and what real power looks like. Subscribe to discover more untold moments when intimidation met transcendence and created loyalty that money couldn't buy. What do you do when 20 Hells Angels surround you demanding protection money? Most people pay, smart people run. But Sammy Davis Jr.? He did something that turned enemies into devoted bodyguards in 0.08 seconds. This is the true story of December 1967, when America's most feared motorcycle gang discovered that some people operate beyond intimidation entirely. December 1967 was chaos in the music world. The summer of love had exploded into violence, and nowhere was this more apparent than at the massive outdoor concerts where drugs, money, and danger mixed in deadly combinations. Enter the Hells Angels, not the Hollywood version, but the real deal. Founded by World War II veterans who brought military tactics to civilian intimidation, they had transformed from weekend riders into an organized criminal network that controlled everything from drugs to concert security across California. Their reputation wasn't built on leather jackets and loud motorcycles. It was built on systematic violence and the kind of authentic menace that made other criminals nervous, which is exactly why promoters use them for security at major events. Pay the Angels, and your concert happened peacefully. Refuse and, well, concerts got canceled in very unpleasant ways. Sammy Davis Jr. had just announced a special performance at the Golden Gate Park venue, a charity concert that would raise money for inner-city youth programs. It was exactly the kind of high-profile, cash-heavy event that attracted Angels' attention. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. at a warehouse in Oakland. Sammy was told to come alone and bring respect money if he wanted his concert to happen without complications. Most entertainers sent managers or lawyers to these negotiations. Sammy drove himself in his Cadillac, arriving exactly on time with the casual confidence that had carried him through every challenge of his career. The warehouse was dark, smoky, and filled with the kind of authentic menace that couldn't be faked or performed. 23 Angels were positioned throughout the space, not randomly, but with military precision that suggested serious tactical training. At the center sat Skull Morrison, the Oakland chapter president. At 6 feet 4 inches and 250 pounds, with arms covered in prison tattoos and scars from actual knife fights, he embodied everything that made the Angels genuinely terrifying, rather than just theatrical tough guys. "Mr. Entertainment," Skull said as Sammy entered, his voice carrying the kind of quiet menace that preceded violence. "Nice of you to show up." The 22 other Angels formed a loose circle around Sammy, close enough to create psychological pressure but far enough apart to move quickly if things went wrong. "I understand you want to put on a show in our territory," Skull continued, lighting a cigarette with deliberate slowness. "That's fine. We appreciate charity work, but charity starts at home, if you know what I mean." The implication was clear. Pay the Angels their security fee or find somewhere else to perform your charity concert. Sammy looked around at the assembled bikers with the same calm attention he gave to any professional situation requiring assessment and appropriate response. "How much?" he asked simply. Skull smiled with the satisfaction of someone whose reputation had once again produced immediate compliance. 10,000, Skull said. "Cash. Tonight. Plus 5% of gate receipts. That's our standard charitable donation rate." It was extortion, plain and simple. But it was also the cost of doing business in the Angels' territory, and most performers paid without argument. "That's interesting," Sammy said, his voice carrying genuine curiosity rather than fear or anger. "But I have a different proposal." The warehouse went completely quiet. In the Angels' world, counterproposals during collection meetings were usually interpreted as challenges to their authority. Skull's expression hardened into the kind of focused menace that preceded systematic violence. "See, the thing about proposals," Skull said, standing slowly to his full imposing height, "is that they imply negotiation, and we don't negotiate, we collect. Two angels moved closer to Sammy's position, their hands moving toward weapons in a way that was subtle but unmistakable. "What I'm proposing," Sammy continued with unchanged calm, "is that we determine who's really in charge here through a more direct method." The suggestion created immediate tension throughout the warehouse. Angels who had been casually positioned suddenly became alert and ready for violence. "You challenging me, little man?" Skull asked, his voice dropping to the quiet register that experienced criminals recognized as the final warning before things became irreversible. "I'm suggesting we find out whether intimidation works on someone who can't be intimidated," Sammy replied. What happened next would become legendary among both Angels chapters and entertainment industry insiders, as the moment when authentic fear met capability that operated beyond intimidation entirely. Skull reached toward the gun holstered under his leather vest, his movement carrying the confident precision of someone who had never encountered serious resistance to Angel's authority. But before Skull's hand had traveled 6 inches toward his weapon, Sammy Davis Jr. had drawn, aimed, and could have fired twice, all in 0.08 seconds that belonged in the realm of supernatural capability rather than human achievement. The warehouse fell completely silent, except for the sound of Skull's cigarette hitting the concrete floor. 23 of America's most dangerous men stood frozen, staring at Sammy with expressions that mixed disbelief, fear, and something approaching religious awe. Skull looked down at his own hand, which was still 6 inches away from his weapon, then back at Sammy, who had already reholstered and was straightening his tie with casual precision. "Jesus Christ," someone whispered from the back of the warehouse. "How?" Skull asked, his voice carrying the bewilderment of someone whose understanding of danger and intimidation had just been completely redefined. "Different approach," Sammy said with his characteristic understatement. But the Angels were beginning to understand that what they had just witnessed wasn't just impressive speed. It was capability that operated in categories they had never encountered, even in military service or prison situations. "Show me that again," Skull requested, his tone having shifted from menace to genuine curiosity. The second demonstration was even more impossible. 0.07 seconds of precision that exceeded anything in the Angels' collective experience with violence and intimidation. "I've seen some fast draws," said Chain Rodriguez, a Vietnam veteran who had witnessed professional military capability. "But nothing like that. Nothing even close to that." The psychological impact of Sammy's demonstration was immediate and profound. These were men whose entire identity was built on being the most dangerous people in any situation. But they had just encountered someone who could neutralize all of them before they could even begin to respond. "Mr. Davis," Skull said, his voice carrying a respect that was completely different from the menace he had projected minutes earlier, "I think we need to reconsider our business relationship." What followed was a conversation that would fundamentally change how the Angels operated at entertainment events and establish a partnership that would last for the rest of Sammy's career. "Here's my counterproposal," Sammy said. "Instead of paying you protection money, I hire you as legitimate security, real wages, professional work, no extortion involved." Skull considered the offer with the kind of tactical thinking that had made him a successful criminal leader. "What's the catch?" Skull asked. "No catch," Sammy replied. "You provide real security, you get real pay. But you work for me, not the other way around." The concept was revolutionary for Angels' business practices, which had always been based on intimidation and extortion rather than legitimate employment. "Why would you trust us?" Chain asked. "We came here to shake you down." Sammy's answer revealed the wisdom that had guided him through every challenge of his career. "Because you respect capability," Sammy said. "And now that you've seen what I can do, you know that I don't need protection from you. I need protection from people who might not understand what they're dealing with." The Angels understood immediately. They had just witnessed capability that made them irrelevant as threats, but valuable as allies. "How much?" Skull asked, his tone completely transformed from menace to professional interest. "Standard security wages plus performance bonuses," Sammy said. "More money than extortion, less risk than criminal activity, and you get to be the good guys for a change." The deal was struck on the spot, and the Angels became Sammy's most devoted security team for the next 15 years. But the story doesn't end with a simple business arrangement. What happened over the following years would demonstrate that respect earned through capability creates loyalty that money can't buy. The Angels didn't just provide security for Sammy's events. They became personally protective of someone they viewed as operating in a category of capability that deserved genuine reverence. "Nobody messed with Mr. Davis when we were around," Jane would later recall. "Not because we were scary, but because he was scarier than all of us put together. We were just there to handle the people who were too stupid to figure that out on their own." The relationship extended beyond professional security into personal friendship. Sammy would sometimes visit Angels clubhouses, where he was treated with the kind of respect usually reserved for legendary criminals or war heroes. "He was the only civilian who ever came to our clubhouse and had everybody's complete attention," remembered Iron Mike Sullivan, a longtime Angels member. "When Mr. Davis talked, even the craziest Angels listened. That's respect you can't fake or buy." The partnership proved beneficial for both sides. The Angels discovered that legitimate work paid better than extortion and carried significantly less legal risk. Sammy gained security that was absolutely reliable because it was based on genuine respect rather than financial transaction. More importantly, the Angels' protection of Sammy became legendary in the entertainment industry, creating a deterrent effect that extended far beyond their physical presence at events. "Word got around pretty fast that Sammy Davis Jr. had the Angels watching his back," noted one veteran concert promoter. "After that, nobody even thought about causing problems at his shows. The Angels' reputation did the work before they even showed up." The arrangement continued until Sammy's retirement from active touring, and many Angels attended his funeral as a mark of respect for someone they considered one of their own, despite having no connection to motorcycle culture or criminal activity. "Mr. Davis taught us that real power isn't about intimidating people," Skull reflected years later. "It's about being so capable that intimidation becomes irrelevant." That's a lesson we never forgot. The story of Sammy Davis Jr. and the Hells Angels became legendary proof that authentic capability could transform enemies into allies, and that respect based on demonstrated competence created loyalty that transcended traditional boundaries of culture, background, and lifestyle. In 0.08 seconds, Sammy had proven that some people operate beyond intimidation entirely. And in doing so, he had gained protectors who were devoted not because they feared him, but because they recognized authentic mastery when they encountered it. Years later, when entertainment industry insiders were asked about the most effective security arrangement they had ever witnessed, they would often reference Sammy's partnership with the Angels as proof that respect earned through capability was more reliable than any security that could be purchased through traditional means. The warehouse meeting in Oakland had begun with extortion and ended with partnership, proving that sometimes the most dangerous situations can become the foundation for relationships that transcend conventional understanding of how power, respect, and loyalty actually function. And in the world of entertainment security, where protection was usually a matter of hiring the biggest, meanest, most intimidating personnel available, Sammy Davis Jr. had demonstrated that the most effective security came from earning the genuine respect of people who were genuinely dangerous themselves. The 0.08 seconds had lasted only an instant, but the loyalty it created would last for decades, proving that authentic capability could transform any situation when it was backed by the wisdom to know how to use power responsibly and the character to treat even dangerous people with the respect that genuine competence deserved.